called. I forget exactly, but he instructed me to start making these berries, mixing these berries and sugar in a bowl. And he said, Dave, you're not wanting to, are you? I'm like, no, why? What did I do? He said, I believe you have hair on your arms. You need to go shave all the hair off your arms. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I started looking around for a razor. And in the meantime, there's three of them just splitting their gut in the corner. And I was seriously going to shave my arm. I appreciate that no one's done that to me up here. But hold on, we're going to have that. We're going to have a good morning for this one. So, thank you for that from Val. Thank you for special music. Thank you for that Sabbath school this morning. It's always interesting. I think I'm going to share it. It's always interesting coming into various churches, and you just get a sense of where people are at spiritually. This was a very spiritual church. Sabbath school this morning. I really enjoyed listening to all the comments. Really good insight. So I appreciate that. Okay. So I took my training, similar. Your name again? Yeah. Ed. Ed and I took the same education back at CSU. We took master's in marriage and family therapy, and that was a long time ago. 30 years ago. A long time. Being blessed to be able to work in a lot of different communities around the world. Recently working with Angel, traveling to different places like the Philippines and up to be Peru, Alaska. Going to be heading up to Nunavut soon. So, always nice to travel and meet the different cultures. So thank you for having me here. But in being a psychotherapist, there have been pretty heavy years. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've hit my 40. I think I'm done. I think I'm done. No more psychotherapy for me. I want to travel and minister in a different way now. Learn a couple of things along the way, and so this morning I'll be talking a little bit about some of the things that I've been seeing. So, yeah, just first of all, I really want to thank you for inviting me into your territory. It is absolutely gorgeous here. I'm anxious to see if I can hook up with you. We'll see if we can get into a bit of trouble here while I'm here. I went to school way back in the day, so that would be nice. And then be able to just tour right on the beach here. It's absolutely stunning. I love this part of the world. I was here 35 years ago. That was a while ago. Tried to get on a fishing boat, but they ended the season the day I came. So I guess don't let this green guy on the boat. That's probably what they were thinking. So yeah, absolutely beautiful here. So thank you. Tomorrow I'll be speaking, like we said, self-care. I really would like to be logged. Came in and saw this beautiful wood. It's breathtaking. I'm gonna get ready for winter myself, so it's okay. We'll spend some time together. So the title for my topic this morning is: Are you free? Are you free? Bit of a perplexing. Is mental health, forgiveness, and happiness related? They're related. And we're going to be exploring grief and loss through rewiring of our brain. So I'm going to try not to get too technical at this point, but I'm going to be talking a little bit about, is our mental health related to our overall and our happiness and grief. Some of the things we've been experiencing. I understand that there's been quite a few losses in the community lately. For that, I truly am sorry. That breaks my heart. And with that many losses, it tends to change a community. It's all about hurt. It changes. And so, and it's not just here. With the Gwa'sala Nation up in Terrace, 5 communities that came together, and there were over 30 losses in that community in the last year. So that's significant. That again changes the community. We certainly don't want to see that. So I want to talk a little bit about stress and depression and grief and loss and how it relates to our bodies. So I found an interesting book. I don't know how I made it through that program. I really don't. I fall asleep. My wife will read for hours at night beside the bed. She's got a little stack of books, but 5 minutes in and I'm sorry, I just can't. I just won't do it. It's tough. So I do a lot of audio when I'm driving or working. But there was a really cool book called The Third Brain. It's kind of intriguing. The Third Brain. What's that? We'll talk about our logical, our brain inside our. Again, the second brain to talk about was our. And you give you a lot of information sometimes. You see somebody, this vehicle pulling in, and I'm thinking this morning, what happened? I wasn't curious. And your heart right away starts beating to you, right? Recently in the Philippines, there the amount of people with the kids happening, there were amount of people who were starving. They had no food because they couldn't come down out of the mountains to get fruits and veggies. And so we had to bring food. The mountains were foods. You're just saying both to you. It's like, oh. And that's because there's so many nerve endings from your heart that communicate with your brain that they call it your second brain. It's powerful feeding information. But then they talked about this third brain, this gut, your gut instinct. Have you ever heard that expression, your gut instinct? And that again is similar, that there's so many nerve endings in your gut that it says, oh, don't in their creepy belly, that's scary or something, right? And so it's feeding you this information. So one of the things I want to talk about today is having this balance in your body, that you can actually slow down and to your body. We can talk about that normally for yourself, but this idea of listening to your body, communicating with you and telling you what you need to do. So we're gonna talk about how we need to get out of our rational brains sometimes and get into our listening to our body. So one of the challenges, though, that I've seen traveling around and talking with people is that there's something called cognitive dissonance. Now, cognitive dissonance is when you're doing something that doesn't align with what your beliefs and your value system is. So your heart and your gut can stir up quite a bit. And with some of the losses that can happen in the community, it's usually because something is just not. A value has been compromised. Someone that you love is either missing or gone, or there was an opportunity for some forgiveness and that opportunity wasn't taken. Or we are not paying attention to our body, or using it, listening to it. So I really want to emphasize that we're going to try to explore how to get in touch with our bodies so it's not there's not that cognitive distance that we're really living our life according to our. So the first Bible verse I want to turn to today is found in the book of James, chapter 1, and it's verse 5 to 8. And so I'll read it up here. But if you have your Bibles, you can open up to it. or you can turn it on, however you like to access your Bible. For me, I usually turn it on these days and just highlight I'll reference the easy. So James chapter 1, verse 5 and 8. And it says this, and I'm reading from the NIV version. It's 1:5-8. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. But when he asks, he must believe and not doubt. Because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the winds. That man should not think he will receive anything from her. He is double-minded man, unstable in all he does. So we talked about parables and stories this morning, and here we've got another story, metaphor, that explores this idea of being tossed around on the ocean, being unstable. That when we place our faith in God and we really try to connect with those values that we believe, that we'll be stable, be unstable in all double-minded manner. And so I really believe that it's critical for us as Christians to add things like love and unwillingness to forgive others and just the unhappiness, the depression, the anxiety that's happening in the world. As we experience those things and those around us experience those things, how we react as Christians is huge. It's paramount. You know, we have an opportunity to learn Christ and his wisdom. And so it's really important for us to make sure that we're centered and grounded right now. And so we're going to talk rewiring our brain. So these are unprecedented times. If you had told me years ago that we would have been lying to you, well, we get out of here, or that there would be food shortages in the grocery store, no. Or that we would have lost so many precious people in our moment. But we do know that is part of what's going to be happening, the trend more and more as we get closer to the end. That's right, it's going to be coming. We want to be prepared, and not only for ourselves, but we want to prepare those around us. And we want to make sure that we're in a good mental state, being healthy. So, just out of curiosity, because I don't know this community very well yet. How many have lost significant other in the last year? Anyone? Okay. Yeah. Or how many of you know someone and you're involved in their life enough that you could be helped because they have lost someone in the last year? Okay. So you're in a very unique position. There are people that I would never see, but because you have a relationship, you have that door. So it's a real opportunity here. And we want to make sure as a community that we are healthy. Our mental health is healthy. So let me see how to tackle this here a little bit. Yeah. Because of all the stuff that's been happening lately, it feels like depression and anxiety. And you put it with youth, and they say that depression and anxiety has gone up 40% in the last 2 years with our youth, 3 years. And that's huge. In fact, I was recently reading a research paper, and for those of you who have kids, this should be very important. Recently reading a research paper put out by the Harvard Health Publishing that talked researchers are concerned about something called hedonic set point, of the hedonic set point. And what this is all of us have a certain base. Have you ever met somebody that's just bouncing out the walls, always positive, always happy? Sometimes it drives people not, I'm kind of one of those people, but it drives people not, I'm aware of it, and I'm okay with it. But you know, they're just always tend to be happy or try to look on the bright side. And then you've got the opposite end of the spectrum, where there's people that are sort of like Eeyore. Oh, I lost my tail again. You know, they're just always looking around. Just they're looking at everything that could happen that's bad, right? So there's the two polar extremes, and then there's most people in the middle. You've got a set happiness point. But one of the things that researchers have found over the last while is we've isolated, obviously, to keep people safe and protect family members and the community. But it came at a price. And that price has been our happiness, our connection to community and to loved ones. It came at a price with anxiety and depression. And so one of the things researchers have found when they do brain scans and they try to correlate someone's happiness is they found that everyone's base that point of happiness is lower. Everyone. It's why they're struggling. They're struggling because everyone's set happiness point. The challenge that researchers are starting to question is it going to return to previous normal? Because in order for it to return back to normal happiness amounts, we have to be surrounded with completely different circumstances. But right now, we're still facing loss, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. In fact, I was talking with a psychologist and I did a podcast about Zen. Yeah, right. And we were talking about how the Z generation, so those are 13-year-olds to 25. That's the generation, the Z generation. One of the things we were talking about was how that generation is completely different from what you and I grew up. You and I, if there was a war somewhere in the world, it lasted for a few years. It was brutal, it's horrific, but then it ended. And then there was an assassination, you know, Kennedy. Most people can remember. Where were you for Kennedy's assassination? For me, it was what was it? Princess Diana. Others, it was landing on the moon. We can remember certain details, but for this new generation, it's non-stop bombardment by media of tragedy after tragedy after tragedy in the world. And it's because they're so plugged in on Instagram and TikTok and all those other that it's considered a global generation. What happens in India, people get upset about here. And vice versa. What happens here, people get upset about in France. It's a global community now. And so they're constantly being bombarded with this bad news. And so, as a Christian, I really believe that we are in a unique position because God told us that some of this will be happening. And He gave us the solution on how to navigate these hard times that we're experiencing right now. And so I'm going to read quite a few Bible verses here. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to keep up with it, but very, right? But we are absolutely in a unique position because God is our great physician. He understands our body more than science ever will. He created it. And so if we can understand how God designed our body, we can understand how to heal through circumstances that are happening around us, like loss. So let's take a look at a few Bible verses, because I really believe that they can be a lighthouse, those of us in the room, and then also those who we are interacting with in the world. And the first is found in James 1, verse 2 to 8. James 1, verse 2 to 8. And it says this. Consider it your joy, brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of any kind. Again, that just blows my mind right there. That doesn't even make sense in my mind. Consider it pure joy. Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. In Joshua, verse 1 to 9, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God be with you wherever you go. We talked about the armor this morning, so it fits so much. Over chapter 10, verse 4. Rise up, this matter is in your hands. We will support you. Encourage, do it. So I'm going to shift gears and talk about how there's a bit of science here that we're gonna try to dig into that. Right? And I'm gonna try and not lose anybody, but I'm gonna bounce between 3 research studies, and I want you to follow me here for this journey. Well, that gentleman just made my day. Wow, good to see you. Okay, so 3 studies. First one is we're going to go to the University of Wisconsin School, and there they tracked 30,000 Americans. Now, whenever they say Americans, it's pretty close to Canadian for, you know, don't get hung up on it too much. So 30,000 North Americans. Well, let's say for 8 years they call. And they asked this question, ready? How much stress do you have and do you believe stress is harmful? How much stress do you have and do you believe stress is harmful? Just answer that in your mind. How much stress do you have and is stress harmful? Okay. So they cross-referenced people's answers with public health records to show who had passed away during that time. And here's what they found. Right? 43% of those 30,000 Americans have an increased chance of dying that had experienced a lot of stress. 43%, they experienced a lot of stress. They had a 43% increased chance of dying. The funny part is that it was only true for those who believed that stress was harmful to your health. Now think about it. My answer, even as a therapist, was weight stress. No, seriously, was my answer. And yet this study is saying that for those that experience high amounts of stress, if all they did was not believe it was harmful, they did not experience 43% chance, increased chance of dying. That just blew my mind. So, in other words, they found that 20,000 Americans a year died not from stress, but just from the belief that stress is bad for you. Now, think about that, because this can sort of transcend to a lot of different things, not just stress. It can transcend to this law is insurmountable. This person should not be forgiven. To a whole host of them. My anxiety is crippling. So just those beliefs, if you truly believe them, it could be correlated that your body believes you and it starts to die. I mean, that's my point. As a counselor over the years, I've talked with so many different people. I would walk through their journey and talk about how it affected them. And really what I should have been talking about is how can we understand what's happened to you and translate it to something different. We interpret with something different. So that means that this placed the belief of stress killing you in the top 15 on the top killers in the US. In fact, it's ahead of skin cancer, HIV, and homicide. If you believe that stress is harmful, it was one of the bigger killers than those other conditions. So we need to change our mind about stress and loss and forgiveness and anxiety and depression. And we need to change it because the world around us needs us to view things differently. Now to a second study. And this is from Harvard. Again, it's on stress, but the study suggests that we need to change our reaction to stress by being aware of our stress response and realizing that this is our body preparing. You know, if there was a kid that I see an oncoming car and a little kid runs into the road chasing a ball, I'm not sure I would go through the doors. I'm pretty sure I would just go straight through that window. And that's adrenaline. I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, kind of like thing. Jumping on a perfectly good company. And almost had to do that on the way here. My point, we were safe at all times, not too good care of it. But we had to turn around mid-flight. The carburetor was acting, but we had to make a landing quickly and burn. We made it down, we was awful. Perfect. But I'm an adrenaline junkie. I look back at my plate and her face is white. And she's praying. And I look at the next person and they're crying and I'm going, yeah, that was, you know, I just, he was there, but we're not even gonna get swallowed. Moving on. How you react to stress means everything in this stuff. You know, adrenaline is good. There's a really good adrenaline junkies and serotonin seeker. And it talked about how our body is wired with amazing hormones and it creates the feel of how many of you have ever felt a newborn baby in your heart? Like new, dude. This newborn smell is still there, right? And you look at this newborn baby and I mean, I've already for everyone in 4 kids. Most of the doctor just couldn't wait to see the little thing there, right? And you can't describe that feeling of holding a newborn baby. It's just remarkable. And your body is pumping with serotonin and dopamine and just all the feel-good love drugs. And so our body, for the way that God wired us and created us, we're full of hormones that, quite frankly, I don't think we understand a lot. We have for our healing. And I'll be talking about that tomorrow. When you go through self-care. This study found, the second study found how for those who had adjusted their view on stress and what they were experiencing at the time or lost, if they experienced it and interpreted it as a positive, there was no increase in stress on their of stress on their body. You know, that 43% increase in dying. In fact, it was similar to moments of joy and courage. So in this study, one could change the difference between having a heart attack at 50 and living well into your 90s just by interpreting differently the moment that you're in. That it was rather adrenaline and there was just your body reacting to the situation rather than this sort of doomsday approach to how you're feeling about loss. And so, again, that's the second study showing how we handle loans and how we handle stress can definitely be there. So I want to get down to the last study, and the last study says this. It was out of California and it studied stress, but it measured how much people helped others. How much people helped others. And the bad news was that for every major stress event, our chance of dying increased by 30%. And we're talking major stress. Our chance of dying increased by 30%. This study. But for those who are actively helping others during their tough times, if you actively help others, there was no increase at all. Now, that kind of astounds me because we all get faced with grief, we all get faced with anxiety. How is it that some family affected come out? And it's all how they interpret what's happening now. So how we think and act can transform our experience with stress. Now, I want you to think about this for a second, because scientifically, I just pointed to 3 studies that the world has produced through research. And in us, it's concluded what revival versus John said. We read, consider it pure joy. You'll be transformed. Our God is amazing. He prepared us as Christians to handle stress and depression and anxiety in a completely different way than the rest of it. And we will not be fazed by it. There will be no increase in heart attack or in increased chance of dying if we hang on to those Bible promises. So, you know, in a world where crazy things are happening, finances can be out of whack. We question why the government isn't helping us as much as they could. You know, always the next wave that's coming. I keep losing people in my life. I want you to ask this question. How are you reacting to it? How are you reacting to it? And I really want you to answer. So, in other words, if somebody says something to you, and it's, oh, I've really been struggling this week, or you know, this or whatever it is, do you buy into it? Do you agree with it? Oh, and in essence, you're supporting that belief system that they have. Or, and could we even be adding to it, narrowing it up? Or are we changing our response to those moments? Because we're Christians and because we hang on to the Bible promises, we in essence being a light in this world. One of the concepts I've really been challenged with is this concept of a lighthouse. Now, I don't have them in Cologne. You have them here. A lighthouse can save a lot of lives. And I love this concept of a Christian talking about. How about if we look at Christians as lighthouses? What if you're the lighthouse in a lot of people's lives? And how you react to their bad news, or to their stress, or to their anxiety and depression, how you react to it could be the difference between saving a life or a life. It really could. I'm telling you, as a therapist, when I understood this concept, it changed me. I had been buying in, I guess, to a lot of the language people have been using because I was taught to model, I was taught to repeat back, to convey, and now I want to be a difference maker. I want to be this lighthouse. Be what the Bible talks about, picking up that full armor of God and preparing for battle and getting out there and really making a difference in people's lives. I don't know why it's like you're taking it into another gear. And I'm feeling old. But I don't know, part is getting a second in. And I guess I wanted to come in and encourage you that even through all the loss that's happening here, that we have a responsibility as Christians to be a lighthouse to those around us. And we have signs on our side, and we have the Bible promises saying the exact same thing. I want to talk about when did I start? No, that's dangerous. Okay, I'll be mindful. I'll be careful. I'll be careful. I'm gonna get out. Okay. So grasshopper. If you take a grasshopper, this is called conditioned response. If you take a grasshopper and you jump this high, well, boing, boing, just have here. But if you can take a grasshopper, put a glass jar on top, anybody know what's going to happen the first time it jumps up? It's going to hit its head. And here, and it comes back down. And I don't want to jump again because that's, who I am. They jump again. And what's going to happen to that grasshopper after a little while? Or it's going to learn not to jump that high. In fact, that grasshopper will jump just shy of the top of the glass jar. And not better. It's a jumping. And so it'll jump, not hit the top. If you take a jar, what's going to happen with the grasshopper? Next time he jumps, how high is he going to jump? Anybody knows?
As I thought of jar.
Again, he's now adjusted his life to jump this high. He could easily jump. He's going to jump this high because he's been conditioned through conditioning, someone's condition to just jump this high. Even though his potential is this high. Now I'm going to throw something out there, comment. You may run me out of this church, but could it be that we've been slowly conditioned here? We didn't like this morning, but this is Satan's domain. A lot of people don't really put it together, but this is a sinful world. This is not heaven, right? This is tragic things are happening all around us. And it could be that we've been here for so long that we've been conditioned in our response to so many different things in life that we don't see the potential of what happens when depression happens or anxiety. Depression and anxiety are there telling you these things, your body, you need to take a better look at it. Your mental health, it's there shaking. Yes. And we sort of, well, I absolutely believe that medications are important. I think that you should pay attention to your body. Sometimes they're very justified. Other times you just need to take a much better, closer look at your body and how you react to and change dramatically some of the things in our life. So I really want to challenge us to think beyond how we normally react to something and really turn to understanding why it is a state about stress and how we interpret stress. Yeah, I'm gonna get all and remove. One of the things that I've done is I worked in an addiction treatment center for years. Yeah, it was tough. I was definitely affected. My wife said to me, character changed. The character changed. A lot more happy-go-lucky. Just hearing all that trauma and all that stuff over the years, that was tough. It stayed for a long time because I found people overcoming addictions to be the most inspiring of all the stories.
Mhm.
If you can overcome that, oh my, you can bring them all. That is amazing. In fact, here I am as a Christian. I had a whole be mindful here. The word is here. Well, I pick up on that. Um, I won't get into any detail, but there was one woman in her group. She went through the most evil. I think that's the word I should use. Evil abuse I've ever in my life. Just ritualistic you degrade. Insane. I mean, and I remember her one time reading a letter to her father, who was the instigator of the law. And I'm sorry if I should record, but her story was so inspiring to me because here in a group of women and me, she reads this letter to her father, the crime abuser. And it said that I know because of you and how you treated me, I know love is not. I am so excited to rush into the world to find out what love can be. And I thought, what? No, hang on. I'm still furious in the corner after hearing a lot of these things as a Christian man. But I was a recent older. I'm thinking, man, I could follow this. And I said that with my brain was going, he was a Christian. And here she was teaching me how a Christian should behave and react. To really truly explain forgiveness. That I don't want to concentrate on the evil in the world, I want to concentrate on good. I want to experience it. It's time. I don't want to hang on to this anymore. I don't want to carry this anymore. I want to move forward into a new life, a new way of living. I'm rewired. Blew my mind. Taught me so much. See, God created us to rise above, to bring joy and care for others. Hearts and minds were designed to reach out and to lift others up. Second Chronicles chapter 20, verse 7. Have faith in the Lord your God, and you will be upheld. Have faith in his prophets, and you will be successful. You can overcome anything. My heart, I want to encourage so much. Man, whatever you're going through, I beg of you to turn it to God. Turn it over to God. Really, truly pray and dwell on it. Reflect on his Bible promises like we read in the beginning. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6 says that trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. And I'm afraid that's what I was doing with her. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. I'll close with this. Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 to 8 says this. Do not be anxious about anything, and in everything, prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. So, if you'll permit me, I'd like to pray right now for this church and this community. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, the question is, are we free? Are we free from the things that we dwell on, that can drag us down, that we can stubborn people? It's justified. Lost hurt is completely justified. When he died, personal. Everything that we do, it's within our understanding of what to do. But Father, you've been teaching us through the word this morning that the way science is revealing how the body reacts to stress and depression, the way that your Bible says before told us to dwell on you, that you not only will bring us through it, that you can heal us through all those things, but that you can help us be a lighthouse to all those around us. So, Father, I just want to encourage every single person here. I pray that your Holy Spirit come into their heart and into their head and just give them a calmness and a peace. And that there be some restoration that happens, that there be some healing. I pray that you give them strength to get through whatever it is facing, whatever challenging, and whatever the future is. I ask that you just create them to be these strong men and women warriors. They're fully equipped with the armor of God. And that will hold on to your promises. Restore. Father, I ask that we be lighthouses in the community around us. That when people share their hard week with us, that instead of having a normal reaction, we're going to have an unworldly reaction to what they say, and then we give them some inspiration. So thank you, Heavenly Father, for this church. Bless each and every one of us. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Yes, Brother James, I think it's a wonderful message for us. You know, the Bible says that with Christ all things are possible. A lot of times we limit God to we can know the truth. But I think what God is wanting us to understand is by faith in Him, all things are possible. And so it's a wonderful idea that we need to change our mindset towards the things that we face. And you're right. Somebody reads James chapter 1 and they go, count it all joy, going through all these trials and hardships. They're going, why should I be happy again? Why am I doing this? But I think some of the studies that you brought out really brings forward the fact that if we have a mindset, God is telling us to have, we can experience the full measure of what He wants us to do. Okay? And that's the beautiful thing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, it's not done. I mean, this portion was a little bit more with the Bible and all of these things. I think you're going to get more into the nuts and bolts of what we're looking at when we're talking about depression and grief and how to handle this. And so I want to encourage you to please stick around with us. Don't go anywhere. We do have a meal that's prepared for us. And then after that, then we'll get into the second portion. One thing I did not I didn't say it, I should have, is here there's you see some notepads and there's pens. At least for the second half, it's going to be going, and you want to take notes, please come forward and grab this so that you can be able to do it. We'll have it in a little bit different style after we are done with our meal. We'll leave the tables up. That way you could use the table for if you want to take notes. Okay. So that said, we're going to have a song, closing song. Is it okay to sing Big 470? There's no shining on phone. We're just going to sing two verses, okay? Verse number 1 and verse number 4. It's page 470 in your hymnal. Let us all stand together. We're going to sing There is Sunshine in My Soul. Okay. First and fourth stanzas. Let us all stand again. Close with prayer. Father in heaven, thank you for this message. We know, Lord, that you are wanting to come to exercise the faith in you. While we may be limited in our mind and our thoughts, it needs to be elevated to your word. So, Father, pray for the sunshine that fills our soul and the life of Christ, what he means to us. Be with us now, Lord. We thank you for this message, and we ask, Lord, that you will continue to be with us for the rest of this. We ask it in Jesus' name. Okay, we're gonna get prepared. Probably normally start for those of us who are able to operate on the table or trust. There we go.